horses, and I was driving on the highway, and it was two white horses that were running beside me, and they ended up flying up into the sky, and I was like, I wonder where they were. And so I was like, you know, I just typed it in on Facebook as a status or whatever, you know, like, why did I dream about these two white horses? So then when I get on the Instagram, I see that it's Trina's birthday, and she's a 3 of diamonds.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, this is in 2019 now.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone almost was that. That was me. Almost 9 years later. So, I mean, yeah, 9 years later, I log on to Instagram and see that Trina birthday, 3 diamonds. She posting pictures with a white horse. So I'm like, okay. So then, mind you, I had a dream December 3rd. The reports that I found about the coronavirus being exposed were late December. So it was later, it was after December 3rd that the virus was, the outbreak was broke news or whatever. They were on the ship that they was on was called the Diamond Princess.
Wow.
We called Trina, yeah, the ship, the initial ship, where, you know, the outbreak and everything, that people were on the initial cruise ship that were, the outbreak occurred on as well. When people started talking about traveling and all that, that was called the Diamond Princess. And then we called Trina the Diamond Princess. Also, Trina real name is Katrina Taylor, Hurricane Katrina. So I had these dreams about water storm, you know, typhoon and a Hurricane Katrina. And so I'm just was like, what the hell is going on? I'm just trying to piece everything
together. What is these
like,
signs? What is the universe trying to tell me?
Right. So that's why I was okay, 3 of diamonds. So I started looking up like, okay, what's the 3 of diamonds energy aside from, I deal with a 3 of diamonds. So that's why that 9 of spade comment and everything too. So it's just, okay, what does that have to do with what? So then, like I said, it was 4 people that was initially killed on the typhoon report or whatever. And then, what was it? Oh, shoot. It was something else. It was 4 people that was in the typhoon. I can't think right now. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is it? Oh, in the water. So it got to be something in the water. So then I was looking up cancer. Like, we're the black people are the zodiac Cancer or whatever, right? And that's Messier 44. That's the constellation. So then I was like, okay. So now I got into Jay-Z album 444. Right? I mean, well, that's always present, you know. But like, not saying that I listen to it, but the numbers. So like, the constellation is actually nicknamed Beehive. So M44 is the constellation. So M is 13 or 4. So it's 444.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So Cancer. So like, okay, so back to the Cancer. It's different definitions of Cancer. But it's basically the same, you know. But Cancer in the constellations aspect could be like a gate, you know. So it's like pinching and keeping, you know, people in and out, or it could be the gates opening up. So then I started looking into that or whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, I don't really know like how the 3 of diamonds that day, the energy of that day specifically. I don't know if it's that. I don't really know. But it's just a lot. So Cancer, like I said, it's water sign. It's the water element. We the black people. They saying that black people can get it, or we don't have the same effects of it. So that's why in my dream, the black people weren't. They weren't dying. My phone might die though. Let me go charge it up.
Yeah. No, I definitely I'm following you, and I'm putting the connections together myself, and the whole Cancer aspect in the water. And when you think of the Cancer, they're like crabs in the bucket almost, you know, the people at the bottom, you know, we're always in that aspect. And it being a water sign, you know, we're very much emotional. But, you know, that's just the Cancer aspect in the 44 sign and putting everything together and what you're saying and the whole Trina concept. And as far as like Cancer being a strength or that being the woman, with the 3 of diamond aspect, what I'm going into is the essence of, I guess you can say, like prophecy, almost in a sense, or signs and symbols. That's what we work with Cardology, you know. You know, witnessing and just being aware of the signs and symbols that's kind of taking place around you. So that being a sign and symbol with Trina with that white horse, and I'm thinking about the pale horses, and the signs of the horses coming up among us, or these signs within these times, and with the coronavirus doing what it's doing within the area that it's doing it at, within your dream, and that same area, that same concept. I see us, as far as Black people, bringing in that horse and being the healers that coming in and bringing in the reckoning. And the Three of Diamond is one of those cards that it comes with the Ace of Spades and Mercury. So it's going to be very foretelling. It's going to be secrets or things that's coming about. And you may want to look at, that Three of Diamonds as a sign or a symbol to see what's coming on or what's going about. And this is one of those pale horses, or one of those signs and symbols within time that's letting us know that, it's our time and the world is in chaos. This virus got us going crazy, and from everywhere, nation to nation. And I was just looking at it today. Somebody was just posting today about how scared they was. The post was basically fear. When I look at a post or look at anything, I'm looking at, what am I taking from it? What's the vibration from it? And it was just a lot of fear. And it was talking about money, and God, that's crazy. She was talking about money and the contact of money, and how we share money with each other, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, my phone.
Yeah, she was talking about. Okay, yeah. So she was talking about how we share money, how we need to be aware of how we exchange money, because this virus coming from financially fit and intuitive, and they're on their stuff over there as far as finances, and we see that finances ain't really fixed. We see that finances ain't really fixing their problems. It's a genetic problem, it's a health aspect. So as we in the spiritual time, it's not all about the money. It's more like a spiritual health. You got to stay grounded spiritually first before anything. And if you look at Trina, what she got going on in her life, it's a lot of aspects of her standing up for herself and having her back and being in power. She's taking on Kamaya. She's patting her on the back and taking. She probably mentors her. I don't know their relationship that much, but I haven't looked at their cards. But as far as what Trina holds, and as she is a staple, like people look at her as a mentor, as a solid figure within the industry, and someone they can go to. And she's been through it all. She's not a saint, but she's still a staple figure, in her industry. And it's just that connection, I kind of see. I don't know. That's why that's why I took from it.
No, because I feed off that because Trina, she kind of rebranded herself. She came out with being on reality TV, but from that she dropped an album called The One, and then she went on to host a radio show. She's hosting a radio show now.
Really?
So in Miami, her and Trick Daddy. So yeah, and so I find it ironic, I guess, I don't even want to use that word, but her album being The One and Lil' Kim album being called Nine, that they both released within 2019. They both released numerical number albums, and I thought that was really dope. And I did a little bit of Lil' Kim's spread. She's a 4 of diamonds, but she is actually, and she's a Cancer, so that's why I mentioned her as well. So speaking of the women in the Cancer energy that you had tied in with Trina being a 3 of diamonds, just that solid foundation. I know right now, moving into 2020, being a 2 energy is a lot of feminist energy moving up, but it's more than that, because that's not, that ain't everybody fight or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of feminine energy rather, coming in as well. So I think everything is just interesting, like, metasymbology, taking everything and tying it together. Because I know, like, the Asians, their number 4 to them is negative, is bad luck China rather.
No.
So for the disease or the illness, the Wuhan, in 2020, really for it to come out, it's just interesting because we're in the 400th year of slavery, or you want to call it, or the freedom year. This is really the year of the chosen. That's why I say in my dream, we weren't dead. We just may have been shaken up, but we weren't dead. And that's back to the healing. And if you see it in the media, they put 44 a lot more in the headlines and stuff. And that ties into, if you see on my page, the cruise ship. I quoted or retweeted Anderson Cooper. He was the first one I saw, but everyone else made the post saying it was 44 new cases on the cruise ship. And then it's like, it's 219 cases on people on the cruise ship, I think, and then 44 cases and 24 Americans. So in breaking down all these numbers, we just had Kobe just passed. I think some waters brought in I forget which area, but some waters brought in a long lost snake, like a Blue Pill was talking about it. It was like some black, I don't want to say rainbow mamba. It's some type of snake that had kind of not been extinct, but it had been away for some time, and that came back. Like, just different things are just linking up. And the story with the cruise ship, that's what I said, I kind of jump around. The story with the cruise ship in the headlines, that came out on February 13th, which was the 44th day of the year. Yeah. So it's just, and then also, what else is 44 they put in the news now? Besides, it's major things that they put in there, like the New Way Forward Act. That's like around 4,400 words, and that's supposed to be like the new Constitution, which is 4,400 words, because they're trying to put you in the box, because they know that everything got duality, so they trying to take the hill of the hill, of the 44, and do what they do what thou wilt with it. So it's just really wild. So people just really got really know what these energies are, and I'm glad that you went live with it, because I'm just like, I don't know who knows what I'm talking about. Like, you talking about, like, I'm posting like my personal tweets now, my page private. Look, my personal Twitter. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know who's seen this, but just if you've seen it, just know I ain't doing it myself.
Yeah, you're not crazy. I know. Me and Miss Desirable, the lovely Miss Desirable, she just chimed in. Hey, love. Hey. Yeah, me and her was just talking earlier about, cardology, and, just the feeling that you kind of get sometimes, and feeling like you crazy because you looking at and you seeing all these signs and symbols, right. And it's just like, yo, what do I do with all this information? And it's right. Overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. I'm currently, trying to write a book on what I found and the things that I've seen and how it has helped me, and see certain signs and symbols, and try to make sense of things, because we all kind of like in this world of unknowing, like we have no idea what's going on and what's coming the next day. As much as we want to plan something out and set a daily planner, look up in the stars and see what's going on, it's like, yo, like, I don't know what's this energy is. Like, what is this? What is this meaning? What is this telling me? And it's just interesting. I mean, these cards just attract me. I don't know about you.
Well, yeah, I've always been attracted to the cards since I was a child, because I've seen, like, my grandmother, well, my mom used to play cards with me, but I've seen, like, my grandmother playing solitaire. My great-grandmother had special cards that she said I can't touch, but I could play with the other cards. But now that I'm older, looking back at it, like, what was y'all really doing? Because, because, it's just interesting. I am very drawn to the cards, and I actually started doing cardomancy. I started doing with cardomancy, and then I got into cardology more so. But I'm more math and science. Like, I'm a math and science kid, like a science and tech kid. So that kind of was like, it's interesting. I wanted to create something that was like that, because I used to do like electromagnetic experiments when I was a child. Because like sometimes I couldn't go outside because I was living in the hood, so I had to do like little science experiments to keep me busy. And so I wanted to put something together, but then when I realized I could use the cards you know, to do the things I was trying to do, you know, like how we're able to um, foresee energy, you know, within a time period and how it actually can be used as a calendar or whatnot.
Right.
You know, it's taking over. And like you said, people be thinking you're crazy sometimes, and I get to where I don't know if I'm supposed to share information or if I'm not supposed to share information. Are people ready for this information? Sometimes I'll talk really fast so I can just get it out.
That sense of cause. You just got
Right.
to get the message out. I just got to tell somebody.
Just, let me get it out. Then you know we just go from there because it came from somewhere. I don't know. So yeah, but I'm sitting here like that's why I was sitting inside doing before I stepped outside just now. I was meditating, but I was really just trying to figure out what do I want to focus on with my studies today because like I got all these books around me and I got books online I'm trying to read. It's just so much. There's so much information.
It is. And whenever you're like a vessel for that information, specifically, as you did, I don't know if she's still here. And pause. Maybe YouTube. I don't know if y'all can see or hear me. If you can type something. Record it. I'm gonna go out and come back in. Okay. All right. Yeah. Hello. Do you? I don't know if you want to chime in. Let me see. Oh, there she goes.
All right, my bad. My phone kept ringing. I had to answer that call that time. Sorry.
Nah, you good. So yeah, but yeah, what I was saying was like when you like a vessel for the information and like you just attract it to the cards. That's my start was from astrology. You know, trying to understand who I was. I've always been like the kid in deep space. I'm an Aquarius ascendant Gemini. So I've always been the deep thought thinker and in the scientific, much so as like you said, like you've been in like math and other things. And it was me kind of growing up, I was always into magic and trying to wonder how things work, you know, on the scientific side.
Yeah.
But I always took it for granted and didn't know if I was like, you know, I guess smart enough to be a scientist, just to be honest. Like, I know I like this stuff, but I don't know all these numbers. Like, is it really meant for me? So,
Scientists.
you said what?
I said we hood scientists.
Right.
Dude,
Exactly. I was always mixing up potions and mixing up this and doing that. So that was always me trying to figure out, you know, how the world works, you know, what's the energies and what is all of this information? What do I do with it? So that kind of led me into you know, blue pill, red pill, and the whole KT, the arts degree, and Sonetta TV. So as far as like the knowledge itself and trying to see what's meant for me, you know, like what do I do with this information and my destiny, you know. And then from there, it led to me finding Aquarius from there. And after that, I just couldn't let the cards go, so I just took a class.
That's tight. I kind of like I do a lot of self study, so I found the cards, and like I said, I started with the So when I was doing Miss Desirable, you said you started with tarot. Yeah, so I started with cartomancy. I was saying so like that is it's not it's not the same as tarot, but it's still like more of an intuitive magnetism that I was doing as opposed to the actual quadratic with cardology. So with that, yeah, like I started with that, but like I was I was looking up and finding different books and stuff like that. So I was buying books, and then from there I was drawn to people online because my friend sent me a link to Aquarius. So that's how I found her. And then I was like, okay, it's a black lady doing this. So I ain't never, I was like, I gotta support her. So I got like the little intro class or whatever she had. But I really just I just be finding books, man. It's just a lot of information out here, and it's really wild how we could tie everything together. Like you said, you started with astrology. Like my grandmother introduced me to numerology, so that that's like the foundation for me, and I'm still like trying to teach myself different things about astrology, but the cardology helps me to understand different things about astrology too, because I can compare it now. Like, okay, just different energies that translate. Like, well, I don't know exactly right now, but like, yeah, like my Mercury is conjunct my Sun, but it's also conjunct Neptune. So like I have like Eight of Clubs energy. That's my Mercury card for my birth card, and my grandmother is Eight of Clubs, but she transitioned. So she's in another realm right now, but I still communicate with her because that's the communication card. So like I still communicate with my grandmother. So it's just interesting. I think I'm sorry to Miss Desirable. She asked I think he was asking what is cartomancy. Yeah, that's like using the 52 playing cards plus the jokers to do intuitive questions and response communication, just like kind of you would use tarot cards, but it's a little different of a system, but it's kind of the same. Just I actually haven't really met anyone that does it, but I've seen a couple of people, and when I do my own readings, I look at some of like my favorite tarot card readers online. Like it'll be like aligned, like the readings will be aligned. So I say if you go on my page, also I have some posts of some interview I did where I did a cartomancy reading, and I was asked about it. I was a guest on Dutch Talk TV, so it's on my page, but it's also on YouTube too. But yeah. So, but yeah, it's just so many occult tools that we can use, man. It's wild, and the journey is forever.
Yeah, I was just sending somebody a message as well. The cartomancy part, I kind of just got into. I like you said, there's so many books out here. Aquarius, mom Nina, she introduced me to the Mystic Textbooks by Oni
Richmond.
Yeah. Richmond. So he was going into, the ancient wisdom and the way that they use the cards. So I just got into it. That wasn't kind of like my first introduction was just Aquarius and doing that kind of like the astrologer does. And kind of, using the 52-day periods and looking at your weekly, monthly, and yearly, in that aspect. But I know cartomancy or any type of tarot is kind of one of those things where, based on how the time of the period and based on the setting and how a person feels and the answers they're looking for, and you can kind of they get confirmation. They get that confirmation through the cards and that message that they're ultimately looking for that moment. Maybe not much so the yearly or on a monthly basis, but it may last into a year, or it may last into years.
It's not as definitive of a time frame given as it would be with cardology, because cardology is more of a science. So the quadratic formations make it so that you can kind of more predict, those events, as opposed to cartomancy, where it's just, you being more of a vessel for spirit to communicate through you, to give you what you need, but not to give you what you want, per se, if that makes sense. Like you just get you get more of a direct answer for, like you said, that time kind of, but like it's not. Yeah, it's not like you just don't know when. You don't know when it's gonna happen. But for like cardology, this is a book that you should get. It's called "What's Your Card?"
Yeah, I have that one too. I haven't read as much as the other ones. I've been reading that one too.
Okay, yeah, this book. It's like this looked like a Bible.
And you saying that, I've actually been talking about, like you said, the there's the Magi book for the age and the periods, and I kind of look at that like a Bible, and it's crazy you say that. That's kind of one of the things that I've been thinking about, putting in my book as well. I've never thought about writing a book, never in my life. But this just these cards, and I just feel like the information, is like really valuable, because we go through life not knowing a lot of things, having a lot of questions from year to year of, okay, how do I plan out this year? What might I see this year? And what's the energies that may come about? And, what is it that I can do best for myself to make sure that, I end up with the best results, right. Or what will be the inevitable results, because it is almost inevitable, to be honest, as I look at like my cards. And you can miss some things, I think, if you miss over the energy and you don't know, which is why I think it's so important, because there are opportunities that we have and things that, and certain energies that we can grasp from year to year that we just don't take advantage of because nobody told us,
Right.
And normally, as I see in my understanding, that it was a brotherhood, or that's why we have these Masons, or that's why we have these, secret societies, because they kept the information from a certain people, and it's not their fault, because I think that we, as far as I don't want to make it about race, because I believe the book of like the Magi book is actually an equalizer, to be honest, as far as energy and the way the energy manifests is like an equalizer overall. But during this time period, people keeping secrets from people, and it's this power struggle,
Right.
It's always been this, I want to know this, this, I'm better than you, we better, who's ruling this and who's ruling that. But I've also been looking at astrology as well, and the Saturn placements and the flipping of time. If you've seen that Neil deGrasse post I made, well, that interview was crazy.
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch the video.
Yeah, the interview was crazy because he talks about the poles shifting within the interview, low key, and Saturn's effect and the placements within this pole shift and this form of consciousness. And that ties back into what I was saying about the Trina thing, about the pale horse and being that Cancer figure, being one of the staples that's bringing in this pale horse, or being, within this time period that's during this awakening. And China is also Queen of Clubs as well. So that's also the Black woman, or that gives representation of the Black woman. Right. It has that cancerous type of feel as well. So it's very interesting that this virus has came about within that area, in that place, and this is the time for the healers to come. This has been prophesied. I think these times have been prophesied for a long time now, So we're like in this age of the awakening. So, and with that comes the Book of Eli, which I've been thinking about,
Yeah. I love that movie. I love the movie, but like it's just crazy. I used to have dreams like the movie. Like I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you good.
Like you said, these are the times, and those dreams were around the same time period. So it's just really wild. Like, and I wanted to say earlier when you was talking about China and the money. Well, I don't know if you said China, but you was talking about money earlier, and I wanted to say that in those places affected, I've heard that they're talking about they're burning their money because they don't want to transfer the virus. So that goes more into the crypto that we need to be getting into. You know what I mean? Like, so we don't gotta touch it, because like you know where money be at. So we don't need to be touching anyway. It's just interesting times, and to the astrology, we in the age of Aquarius. But what you say? What you say about damn, you had just said Cancer is part of that.
I was saying how you were talking about Trina And like that, her being the three of diamonds and being a
Yeah,
woman.
the women energy.
And
Okay, my bad. Okay, I got it. The Neil deGrasse point, right? That's what
oh,
I was
yeah,
talking about. The Saturn and the shifts and the pose or whatever. So with us being in the age of Aquarius, I really feel like, so I'm looking into like sidereal compared to Western astrologies. And, you know, I use both at times for different reasons to find out, like, just like we have a grand solar spread and a spiritual spread, you know, so it's kind of in the same mindset that I could use those in. And so, like,
I have the perfect video for that. I'm gonna post it. Keep going.
yeah, definitely share with
I'm
me,
gonna send
please.
it to you.
So, like, with that being said, I feel like we in a different age, of course, but like in a different age. So, like, how you said the shifts of the polar shifts or whatever. So like I really feel like you know, Jupiter and Saturn are opposites. So we just move, even if you look at the symbols of the zodiac or whatever, you look at their emojis or whatever, like it's like a 4 and an H kind of, flip it the other way, then it's the other thing. And so that's like the material as opposed to the spiritual. And that's the times that we in. Like we just flipped from Pisces being ruled by Neptune, but we just flipped from Pisces going into the age of Aquarius, which is still ruled by Saturn. But people, I think, are forgetting about Uranus because that's the defining principle for this decade. I think, you know, it's just so much. It's the technology. It's the higher spirit, higher communications. You know, it's a very spiritual planet. People always say it's a rebellion, a planet of rebellion, but that's because if you look at what's going on, we've been rebelling all this time. Churches are being burnt. You know, different. They burning. They burning everything. You know, whether it's government structures, political races are going. Like it's just a lot coming to fruition right now. And it's so much to time. It's so much to time. Like I've been wanting to go live so I can talk, because I could just talk forever. But I just nobody gonna listen. But I be wanting to go live. It's so much.
Nah, you cool. I'm gonna try to get on every now and then. So I'm definitely down whenever you get up or feel like it. And yeah, like you were saying, like it's definitely that spiritual time period, and a lot of astrologers have seen it. And speaking of like the sidereal versus the traditional, or any type of form or method or of astrology that one may use, it's all an observation. And I was just actually looking at it this morning. It's crazy you said. I just seen this video this morning. He was the example he gave was a guru gave two students a task of looking at Pluto and Saturn conjunction, and he was saying there's a war that's going to happen during this conjunction. But what he didn't tell them, but what he did was he taught one the tropical, then he taught the other one sidereal. And so what he did was these two students never met each other. They came back 30 years later during the same return of Saturn-Pluto conjunction, or the Saturn particular time point. And both the students came back 30 years later, masters of astrology over time.
Yeah.
So he was saying, like, whatever a guru tell you to do, you must do it, you know, because that's within the laws of nature. So they come back 30 years later and both say, yeah, I took what you've told me, and there's a war coming. And they've been telling people this whole time using two different forms of astrology, but they both got the same perspective because it was all about the motions within the sky and all about the observation of that motion and the, you know, specific placement from where they observed it. So long story short, basically what he was saying was, no matter which form of method that you use within astrology, most likely you're going to come about with two of the same type of observations. And as you were speaking about, you know, Uranus being a higher octave of Mercury, a lot of times we have to use our intuition, you know, because that's going to be the ultimate teller and the ultimate tester. When we see these observations, we're going to feel it, we're going to see it, you know. It's just trusting our instincts at the end of the day. It's trusting
Yeah.
what we see and trusting the research that we found. So yeah, I definitely see like the, as far as like the time period that we're in, and as far as like the time period that we're going into, we're going to be looking at astrology a lot more on a daily, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, because one thing, as he was saying, was we shouldn't get too consumed in it. It should be, you know, like therapy, you know, because
Right.
we are a lot of times within this age of, or time period of not knowing. And then you speaking of, you know, Pisces as well, that's a real dark time period, a real dark age. And us coming out of that, a lot of things has been brought to light, a lot of our darkest secrets, a lot of things that we may have swept under the rug, you know, are starting to come out. And as far as us, as far as Black people is concerned, as we getting our act right, you know, act together, moving into this Aquarius age, this age of enlightenment. If you want to be the knowledge bringer or bearer, you got to make sure that what you're doing is okay, and you've handled all those darkest secrets, those darkest times that you've had, and dealt with the anxiety and the depression that comes with Pisces. So, and like you said, that time period of coming, those 400 years that we've came through and we've went through with some very dark, hard times, and maybe a lot of self-reckoning based on our karma, you know. So I kind of think of it from a whole different perspective when you're looking at astrology and move into where we're going to, and it's very telling. You know, I think we should look at these things to get a better understanding, because I think when you don't have an understanding, you operate out of anger. You know, like, why is this happening? You know, why is this going on? Why this, you know what I mean? Like, why did we go through this? You know, it's not a bad thing. You know, it's something came out of it. You know, like this whole virus thing, something is coming out of it. And as you look at that, as I'm thinking about what you was posting, like, dang, I see, like, I see what you were saying now, like because the Three of Diamonds has that Ace of Spades and Mercury, you know, you were talking about Mercury, so that Ace of Spades and that Uranus is very telling, you know, is very, it can tell a lot of things that's to come, you know, speaking on the moment. So yeah, it's just, like you said, it's a lot of information when it comes to astrology or cardology, and when you put everything together, it's just even more amazing. To be honest, is like, I get flabbergasted when you was talking about the Eight of Clubs. What card are you again? Can you hear me? I can't. I don't know if I can hear you. I'm gonna go out and come back in. I'm trying to reconnect her. But what I was talking about, the huh? It may be the connection. I don't know if it's giving a lot of lag. But the Eight of Clubs, while you coming in, while I was talking about the Eight of Clubs, before Pop Smoke had passed, the Eight of Clubs was actually in my Mercury, and I was, you know, playing his music a lot. So that's just what I was going to say about the Eight of Clubs. Okay, we're gonna try it. I'm gonna log out. I don't know where she at. I think she was in here, then she logged out. But I'm not gonna. I don't want to take up most of you all's day. We may try this again when the connection's a little bit better. I'm gonna see if I can bring Brooklyn on as well, maybe here in a couple minutes. But I did record this, so I'm gonna post it on YouTube. And if you all have any questions, inbox me, Miss Desirable. Thank you for tuning in, and everybody else. So I'll be back, maybe a few moments, with another friend, or see if Hilla can come back in with me, see what's going on.